Hello Mets fans, welcome back to the channel. So happy to be back here for a big week for the Mets, which may very well be very eventful as we see what transpires, maybe what answers to Trevor Bauer, among some other decisions that will inevitably be coming for the Mets as they inch closer and closer to spring training. But in today's video, we're going to be touching on a topic that you guys, if you've been following along, know that I'm very passionate about, that being the universal DH and how it affects the Mets. Should they have it or should they not have it in this upcoming 2021 season? So that's what we'll be taking a look at. So make sure you guys stay all the way until the end of the video. Find all the deets and all my thoughts. I'm going to give you a rundown on the latest proposal by the MLB to the Players Union regarding the universal DH and everything in between, and with the Mets, how it factors in, why they desperately need the universal DH, and what happens if they don't have the DH. If you guys end up enjoying this kind of Mets content and want to see more great Mets content like this, make sure to smash that like and subscribe button, share this video with your friends, put on the notification bell, all those great things. Thank you all so much for the countless support. We are so close to 4,000 subscribers, so make sure to hit those buttons. We're just getting started here in Wardy NYM, but enough of me talking, let's get right into it. All right, guys, so one of the biggest reasons as to the uncertainty for the DH going for the upcoming season goes in hand with the MLB trying to reach a deal with the Players Union as to what exactly the type of season we're going to be having in 2021. And the latest proposal just given over the past day through the MLB, and this is great here from Ken Rosenthal. So if you haven't checked out this article through The Athletic, make sure you do. He gives down all the details you need to know, but if you don't, that's fine. I'm going to summarize it right here for you, and a lot of people know this already, but the MLB has since over the past 24 hours proposed a 154 game season. So it's a month later in the season, which means that spring training will not begin until March 22nd. The season will not begin until April 28th, and that way they can have more time to really prep and do protocols in their mind to prevent less COVID outbreaks from happening during the season. That's their understanding, at least. And then they would also like to have expanded playoffs again, like the short 2020 season, and then they would also bring the universal DH because they have them paired. They do not separate them, which is causing a bigger issue here, if you ask me. And there's also no guarantee for the players to be paid any money should they lose out at games due to a COVID outbreak or just the pandemic as a whole. So that's been one of the bigger issues, because the Players Union, as of now, has not been official yet, but they're highly likely to deny this proposal by the MLB. So it's going to take more time, as always, and we don't have an official start date for the season as of now, and a lot of DH uncertainty. And one of the reasons for the MLB's, the Players Union to go against the MLB's proposal is, in fact, the DH having this uncertainty for so long because of how it's affecting players that are, say, in free agency right now that are trying to sign with a team but don't know if the DH will be there because it'll be crucial to them. Take Nelson Cruz, for example. Any suitors from the NL, that's a huge factor for him because he's not going to be playing in the field. Then you also look at guys like Marcell Ozuna for the Braves. I'm sure that's a big part of the reason why things haven't necessarily rekindled there for him to immediately go back to the Braves or not, among some other player options there in free agency. Enter the trade market has definitely affected all the teams that have been addressing their rosters this offseason, both in the AL and the NL, for numerous reasons. But then to add on with that, not having that certainty of being paid for any games that you miss out due to the pandemic, that is something the players are definitely not in favor for, and I don't blame them whatsoever. They would like to have a guarantee or some type of higher gain in a different avenue to help boost up that income for the money that they would surely be losing in a situation where games aren't being played due to a COVID outbreak. But then they would also like to have other issues too, as to really a 162 game season. They feel that they are deserving of having a full season this year, and I don't blame them. They are also not in favor, and I don't blame them for this either, of expanded playoffs. I'm personally not a fan of expanded playoffs. I get it makes the game entertaining, especially MLB that has been desperately needing help when it comes to marketing, just trying to get the game out there to a younger audience. They've been struggling with that for a while now. So that is an upside to the expanded playoffs, but realistically, any normal baseball fan, a traditionalist, from a lot of people that I've talked to, are not necessarily in love with teams that can basically be below 500 or just fringe 500 making playoffs and possibly having an impact. So it leaves more uncertainty for basically teams that, you know, have normally been competitors, and doesn't give them as much incentive to ball all out during the season. It could cause a lot of issues, which is not a good thing. And the problem with the MLB's proposal is that, according to Rob Manfred, as of now, they are not separating the DH, the universal DH, and the expanded playoffs into one. So that has been a big issue between these two sides, and that's why there is yet to be a resolution as to when the season is going to start and what kind of season it's going to be as of now. So putting you guys all in on that information as it is, now let's take a look at how it affects the Mets directly, because as we touched on already, and I would like to add one more thing, just tracking back to the MLB and the Players Union especially, another factor is that they would like to use this as a bargaining chip in the next CBA, which is going to be ending right around December 1st. So they they will have to renegotiate there for the next deal, and they would like to have the expanded playoffs as part of that renegotiation, and not so much now, and that's another reason. So again, whether you're on the MLB side or the player side, I do understand factors both sides here. But how it affects the Mets is huge, because as we know, the Mets balled out in the 2020 short season. Say what you will, I know that they did not make playoffs among the majority of the league making playoffs with the expanded playoffs, but we can say that they did have a dominant year in their offense. The Mets had the highest OPS in all the MLB and had one of, if not the highest in MLB history, if you're counting a short 2020 60-game season. But it was unbelievably impressive. The bats were flying. The batting was not the issue for the Mets in the short season. It was their pitching due to the lack of the rotation depth from all the injuries, among other things, and the bullpen being finicky as always, right? So now that the Mets have had a strong offseason, they still have yet to address certain parts of this lineup, definitely in effect because of this uncertainty with the DH. And what is the biggest reason why the Mets need the DH? It is Dom Smith, and everyone knows that. That's probably why you're watching this. That's why he was in the thumbnail. Dom Smith has been a key part to the Mets' success over these past couple of years, and it looks like he can be a pivotal part to the organization going forward, knowing that you can have Dom and DH and Pete at first base, or you can rotate between the two throughout the season. Has been electric for the Mets in the short 2020 season. Having them bat next to each other in the lineup has been awesome. They have went back-to-back bombs numerous times throughout the years. It was a great connection. They have a great friendship, and I want to see Dom in this lineup. I think we all do as an everyday player. He's a great bat that's only getting better. But if you guys don't know the specifics on Dom's 2020 season, here it is. In the short season, just 50 games played at 10 home runs, 42 RBIs, a 316 batting average, a 377 on base percentage, a 616 slugging, and a 993 OPS. And at the age of 25, Dom is blossoming. He was one home run short of tying his career high back in the previous season, in which he had 11, and he already has more RBIs than he ever did in any season, just getting more playing time. So Dom, we know this, he is stellar. You can't really keep him in left field because he is a defensive liability, and the Mets, if they are trying to bring a world championship to the Mets sooner rather than later, they need to focus on their defense, as we know, and in doing so, you really can't prioritize having Dom, who is strictly offense, in that left field. He's not terrible in left field, but he's definitely below average because he is a first baseman. Let's be realistic. Same thing when they had JD Davison left at times and made some lucky catches, but for the most part is not a left fielder. Same thing with him at third base, how they want to upgrade third base because they still aren't loving his defense as of now. So if you have a universal DH that does everything for the Mets, it gives them certainty in left field, knowing that they really can push Nimmo to the corner in left field. Then you can have Dom as a DH and really rotate him between Alonso and Dom, going first to DH plenty of times throughout the season, and then you are cooking. And then center field, that lets you address going for a big name center fielder like Jackie Bradley Jr., for instance, that they've had plenty of tabs and plenty of interest on during free agency. I'm not completely sold on JBJ as of now because I get it. He's a lefty. Sandy Alderson has stated over the past month he would prefer a righty prior to George Springer being signed, but JBJ does have a great glove, so it would not surprise me to see them land him. But it gives you certainty knowing that you're focusing on strictly the center field when you can feel pretty comfortable, in my mind, to have Nimmo in left. And while he's a stellar outfielder, he'll definitely be better positioned as a corner outfielder. He can really focus more on his batting as well and just be great as an on-base machine. It would just be perfect for the Mets. We know this. It worked tremendously in the short season. I think it will work tremendously even more this year with all the new acquisitions they have and what they're trying to do in the offseason. But if they don't have the DH, that is why this is so detrimental, because then you're trying to figure out, okay, are you going to risk possibly having Dom in left field again and also having Nimmo in center? Because while the defense is definitely below average, you are banking on their bats and how they are as overall players. Nimmo between getting on base and Dom just being electric at the bat. You're banking on that short 2020 season progress on his front, especially, that he'll be able to replicate, if not do better. And that's a high risk for a Mets team that is trying to prioritize defense in this lineup, both in the infield and the outfield this season. So this is why this is such a big deal for the Mets. Anyone that has been following along knows this, but I really want to put you guys on here because it doesn't just affect how they approach the lineup, it affects who they go after this offseason as well. That the DH is in play, for instance, maybe that does factor in possibly going after a big name bat. Not that I think it's likely, but we have seen interest with guys like Marcell Ozuna in the past. Again, I don't really think I see him landing with the Mets, but there has been reports that the Mets made a contract offer to him. Same thing with a lot of other teams, so take that as you will. But with the Mets not having a DH, then you have to worry about not just addressing center, but left. So are you going to address that with two guys that are more defensively sound, either through free agency or the trade market, but then sacrificing giving up Brandon Nimmo, either through trade or Dom Smith? What are you going to do with Dom at that point, right? Say you address just center field with no DH for the 2021 season. Okay, then realistically, you would put Nimmo in left, wouldn't you? Are you going to go with a platoon with possibly Nimmo and Almora, for instance, in center, and then just hope that Dom does his best in left to keep him in every day? I don't think that's a realistic scenario for the Mets, nor do I think it's a route they necessarily want to go down, even with how much they've upgraded this offseason already. They want to prioritize defense, and the best way to do that is to bring in guys that are natural to their positions. So no DH means a lot of uncertainty with Dom Smith. Sandy Alderson, they have all said that they do not plan on getting rid of Dom. They love Dom, and I don't blame them. Dom cannot be out of this lineup, if you ask me. The only way I could consider seeing him dealt is if it's truly for a deal that would make plenty of sense for the Mets, that addresses needs in this lineup, that's going to help them both short-term and long-term. But even then, Dom Smith is a great player and even better person. I do not want to see him gone. So guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. How do you feel about the Mets and the current uncertainty with the DH? Do you believe, just as I do, that the Mets absolutely need it for the upcoming season and beyond, and it could have terrible effects on them should they not have a decision made on the DH sooner rather than later? Because again, as the days go by, we get closer to the supposed spring training without there being a delay as of now. Among others, a lot of free agents still out there, a lot of targets the Mets are still going after. Same thing with plenty of other teams in the MLB. So much uncertainty. This is chaotic. It's an absolute joke that we do not have a decision yet on the DH. It baffles my mind, and I will continue to be pissed off about it, quite frankly, until we find out an answer and then what is next for the Mets at that point. So again, guys, let me know your thoughts down below about the DH. Do you want it? Do you not want it? Do you think it's pivotal for the Mets or not? Please let me know. If you ended up enjoying this kind of Mets content and want to see more great Mets content like this, make sure to smash that like and subscribe button. Share this video with your friends. Put on the notification bell. All those great things, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Expect more great Mets content here. Between normal videos and live streams, it's going to be a hectic week. It's Trevor Bauer week, supposedly. Maybe we'll find out an answer on him, but on some others. But thank you again, guys. Let me know your thoughts down below, and I'll talk to you soon.